first of all, Shabana, welcome to Leicester,
Thank you.
often dubbed as a mini India, a mini Gujarat. How does it feel to be in a city that's so far away from home for you, but yet to be received so warmly by people?
Well, it is really, the UK for us is like a home away from home because there are so many of us scattered all over here. And the fact is that most of them are familiar with my work and so extend a lot of warmth towards me. And that always makes me very happy. And I love the Gujarati dal.
You've come to the right place.
I know, I know.
Fantastic. Now, for somebody, for somebody who's new to Indian cinema, it's more than just Bollywood, as is often known in the West. It's probably as diverse as India itself.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say defines Indian cinema?
A uniqueness of its own because we use song and drama as a way of telling stories which is inherent to our culture. It wasn't just picked up from somewhere and put into cinema. It's part of our storytelling narrative, and that's unique. You don't find that anywhere else in the world. And so I hope that we can continue to build on that strength instead of sort of making songs a little more redundant today than they were earlier. And so whenever you hear about Hindi film music, we're always singing the 60s and 70s ka song, and there's a great sense of nostalgia about it. So I think that characterizes us. We have a very strong narrative of telling our stories, and like you said, it's a very diverse cinema because there's Tamilian cinema, there's Bengali cinema, there is Malayalam cinema, Telugu, Hindi, Marathi, Gujarati, all of it. And so it seems to be a pity that it is only recognized as Bollywood. But over the years, I used to get very upset with the term because I thought it meant that it's just a poor imitation of Hollywood. But over the years, one has accepted it as being the song and dance film, which it certainly is not all. It's only one part of that big collective. But, India makes the largest number of films in the whole world. And so there has to be something unique that moves across cultures. It's popular not only in India itself, but also in the diaspora and, places as far away as Uganda and America, North America, and all of that. So it has Fiji Islands, China now. So it has something to it that appeals to a broader spectrum.
Fantastic. Now, for somebody who's been in the industry for 5 decades, you're clearly an icon for so many people. What would you say has been the most profound moment in your cinematic journey?
That's such a difficult question to answer because to pinpoint any one event as the most momentum won't be correct because it has been a journey, and in that journey a lot of good and a lot of bad have been collected, and I'm not somebody who wants to shy away from things that are not so pleasant because that's the sum total of who I finally become because I'm in a receptacle to all that is happening, right? And I have been, I think, singularly lucky in being at the right place at the right time. And so when I started in 74, I had just come out of the Film Institute with a gold medal, and that was a time when the Hindi cinema was very quickly absorbing the graduates of the FTII. And so really without any struggle, touch wood, I got my first 3 films. And then, for instance, Shyam Benegal's Ankur, which was my first released film, that became a kind of cult film. It won me the national award. It paved the way from what got known as the parallel cinema. And so I was very lucky to get very substantial roles for women, which wasn't the norm. Now, after that, there is a sort of second wind now, because there are roles that I'm doing, a vast array of roles, which 10 years ago you wouldn't have imagined that women my age or seniors my age would have available. And so it's really happening for the better.
Um, Obviously, you mentioned you've done so many roles and you're going to do so many more roles, but are there any sort of roles or characters that you've always wanted to do but you've never had the
Oh,
chance?
well, I have the best script writer in India at my own house. And I've got two kids and one brother who are all directing films. So I'll just catch them by the ear and say, you better make this film for me. But there isn't any such particular role, except that I would like to explore a historical character. We have very little records of it. And what we do is when we play such roles, the hangover of Mughal-e-Azam is so heavy on us, and Mere Mehboob is so heavy on us, that we sort of get into a declamatory form of pronouncing a dialogue. And I want to explore that and see whether there are other more interesting ways that we can do it. But it's not like the passion of my life.
Fair. Now, obviously, you've done your fair share of roles in offbeat art house movies, as some, or parallel cinema, which aren't mainstream, and they often tackle social issues. How important has it been for you that you're able to bring those issues, those social injustices, to the big screen?
You know, I was brought up in with parents who believed that art should be used as an instrument for social change, and that's what I saw, whether with my father's poetry or his writing, or my mother Shaukat Kafi's the roles that she did for theatre. So that was the atmosphere I was born in. So it was a sort of given that it would happen. And I think a time comes in an actor's life, in an artist's life, when you feel you can no longer treat your work like a 9-to-6 job and then go back to being with all your creature comforts and your air-conditioned rooms and say, I have nothing to do with the character that I was playing. Some of that residue is bound to be left over within you. And if you have a voice which can be used, then I would think it's a pity not to. So I am very, very happy that particularly it came when it came to stance of women deserving better parts than just being appendages to the hero. That trend seemed to start, in my case, very early because of the films of Shyam Benegal and all that, but then it also started seeping into mainstream cinema, and then there was a film in the 80s called Arth, which was Mahesh Bhatt's film, and it became a cult film. So after that, then it became more and more visible, that kind of film. And so over the years, women and women's work have got far more visibility than they did earlier in society or in cinema. So at present, I think we are on happy grounds, but we have a lot to achieve.
Is it almost a responsibility of filmmakers to drive this forward?
You know, see, I don't think I'm a guru and I am there to tell people how to live their lives. But this is the way I've lived it because this is what I grew up. But I do think that there are some people who believe art is for entertainment. There's nothing wrong with that. But I feel that art is not only to entertain, but also to provoke, to make you think beyond what your normal thinking is. So I like to do that, but I wouldn't force everybody and say, no, this is what you have to do.
Yeah.
You know, I've left my life led my life by the example of my parents, who never sat me down and gave me lectures about this is what an artist should do, but they led by example. And so I live my life in the way that I know best, and it's for people to decide.
Obviously, earlier we touched on changes in the industry. Do you think now that there is as much creative freedom for storytellers, for filmmakers, as there perhaps was 25 years ago?
Yes, because Now, 25 years ago, it was just the what the filmmakers imagined would be the box office formula that they would venture into. So they would put the characters in their stereotypes. Now their voices are coming out stronger, and this is also happening because of the advent of the OTT platforms, where the success doesn't depend only on the first 10 days collections, but you have a longer bandwidth to recover that money. So that is encouraging people to make richer content. And I think the fact that so many more women are now becoming writers, uh, that itself is bringing out a healthy change.
What would your advice be to those women? And there are so many girls, so many women here in this country, in the UK, who want to carve a career in filmmaking, in acting, and they will look up to you as a role model for that. What would your advice be to them?
Don't do it. Don't do it. You know why? Because it's a very, very tough profession. And there is the fear of daily rejection. Now you have to have a very strong heart for that, or you have to want to do it so passionately that you're willing to make yourself ready for that heartbreak. And in the process also really hone your skills as an actor. Just liking your face and being able to dance or being able to fight is not what you need to be an actor, you know. To be an actor, you need to find the truth of the moment from within yourself. And I've seen that a lot of youngsters think that acting is about imitating. So I like Shah Rukh Khan, so I'll do this scene like Shah Rukh Khan, or I do it like Alia Bhatt, and that's not going to get you anywhere, because that can't. Imitative form and being inspired are two completely different things. And nobody can learn acting in 1 week and 3 months and stuff like that. Acting is a lifelong process. For instance, even now, so many years later, I suddenly say, oh my God, this is what Professor Taneja meant, my acting director at the Film Institute, when he said this. So it's a daily learning, because an artist's resource base has to be life itself. And so you have to be open to that. So it's a lifelong process, and it's, like I said, daily, the possibility of daily rejection. So it has to be your passion, and you have to do it more than anything else in the world. So I would say be cautious.
Absolutely. Speaking of that passion, my final two questions. What are your top 3 movies in Indian cinema of all time, would you say?
Depends on the parameters, but off the cuff, I would say within the mainstream.
Any of the ones that you think actually these are the ones?
Yeah, okay, so Mother India, Salim Javed's Diwar, and recently there have been lots of films. Rocky or Rani is something that I really enjoyed, because we're all within the mainstream, and yet it's on point about gender. And that I like about it. It's also fun-filled film. But the films that really resonate very deep within me is, I think, the films of Shyam Benegal, because they really brought out change. Some of Satyajit Ray's work, and some of the work of the newer directors today, I find very interesting, not the least of which is my daughter, Zoya Akhtar. But now this debate will start about nepotism and about this, that, and the other. But the fact is, I'm saying that because I really think she has a voice that is different and appeals to the young and is interesting and is based on deep observation. So there are lots of films like that.
Fantastic selection there. And finally, what are your thoughts on the future of Indian cinema and the direction it's taking?
Very good. It's very, very good. Except, like I said right in the beginning, that in this need to become the crossover film, we are losing what is our strength, and that's the art of telling stories through songs. So please, let's build on that. Let's not, so if we say that no, the crossover film has to be shorter, that of course, that is very necessary. Nobody has the patience for a 2.5 hour film. But then in that you can't lose what is your basic strength. So what I think is very important that is happening today is that it's a two-way exchange. We are learning from the West is learning from us, the doors are opening up, and also it's a question of market. People are understanding that if you take uh, a popular Indian film actor, then your audience base becomes very much stronger, but also because the whole, for instance, I was working in Steven Spielberg's Halo, the series, and when I looked on the set, I said, how lovely. There were people from all nationalities on the set. I remember in 1989, when I did Madame Suzatska here in England, I was the only Asian on that set. And now that's completely changed. So these are opportunities which I think we can grab and make much of.